like a hammer in a head.
I was angry, mostly just scared.
Scared me terribly.
It's obviously not okay.
Kind of threw me into shock.
I almost didn't believe that it had happened to me.
Totally shocked.
And I think I experienced a lot of fear.
Definitely scared.
Probably the anxiety and the fear was really strong.
It was like black crepe.
Diagnosis of cancer is a horrible, horrible thing to have to go through.
Cancer is equated with, I'm going to die.
You know, the minute you find out you've got cancer, it's like a kick in the face.
A hole opened up and I was being swallowed.
My legs just turned to rubber. I just couldn't walk. And I actually leaned up against a fence to a parking lot and just stood there for probably 15 minutes.
You're in shock and you're thinking, no, this can't be happening to me, but it can happen to anybody.
You know, there's a lot written about stages of grief and that's typically the kind of thing that people go through.
His body had the audacity to get cancer, and he did not want to hear anything we had to say. When you attempted to explain about his disease or medication, he would, cut you off, and his response to you was, I don't have time for that, I'm a dying man.
I started bargaining and saying to God, oh, I'll do anything. I'll quit smoking. I'll be good. I'll do everything. I'll be perfect. Just let me get through this.
Right after that, of course, I was very angry. I hadn't been married very long, and my career was just starting to take off, and then you get hit with this. And I was really mad.
I'd lost my father with cancer. I'd lost a number of aunts and uncles with cancer, and I'd always jokingly said, it's not a matter of if I have cancer, but when. But I was joking with myself because when they actually told me that, I didn't feel the same way. And immediately your reaction is, my God, I'm going to die. And then you learn there are ways that you can fight it.
They go through what's called an acceptance stage, where they do accept the fact that they have this diagnosis, and then they really start to deal with it.
I think when you understand the disease, you start getting some hope, because you do see the figures that most people can survive it today.
The main thing when you have a diagnosis of cancer, and I feel like I'm proof of that, you are not necessarily going to die in the next 2 or 3 years.
I suspect it went in remission in 8-10 weeks, and that's been 4 years ago, and it stayed in remission. It's still in remission.
We can operate out of anywhere. We operate with a telephone because Joan Steiner, who is our coordinator, and she wants to contact somebody, she calls them by the phone. That's the way the network works.
I think each time you get the call from Joan, you dread the contact, but you know that the contact's very important. And the minute you make the contact, then I think it's wonderfully rewarding.
Well, I think the unique thing about Friends for Life is the fact that when you contact them, it's a one-on-one thing. They try to pick somebody that's really closely related to your type of illness.
It really helps to have a newly diagnosed cancer patient be able to sit down with someone else that's been through that same thing with them and be able to tell them their feelings.
Because it's not just cancer, it's that particular cancer. And there's some personal things about particular cancers that you have to go through. And you can really talk to a person and get to know them and ask them personal questions.
John Gray called me, and it was like the light at the end of the tunnel.
And no matter how much I can tell people about chemotherapy and the side effects and the benefits and the toxicities, it doesn't beat talking to somebody who's been through it.
The very fact that all of us in Friends for Life are at least cancer survivors, in and of itself portrays a message. When we come in and we say we've had it, it's now in remission, or I had it 6 years ago, I had it 8 years ago, there's no signs of it now, I think that's a good indicator. I think that message maybe is as important as the things that we say.
I just like the sound of the name, Friends for Life. I mean, that's what I was looking for, life.
I just called, and then I went and talked to Joan Steiner, and have been involved ever since.
Well, my volunteers are recovered, recovering, or in remission cancer patients, or family members. Somebody that has had a cancer experience.
If you have someone who has been there, be it whatever kind of cancer, there is more of a feeling of camaraderie, somebody who knows what I'm going through, who has hit those absolute valleys and risen to some of the peaks.
That's what makes a very individualized support network a little more attractive at the time. You need to be able to hook up with one person and verbalize your feelings and have that time for you.
For many of us, I think there is a sense of mission or call or whatever that says, hey, you need to help somebody else that's been this route, and that you have a unique, because of your experience, you have a unique capacity to do that.
In fact, I get so much from it, I almost feel like I'm being selfish. I wonder sometimes if I don't get more from it than I actually give.
The training program is basically on helping relationships, self-evaluations, learning other people's coping mechanisms and how to respond to that. Again, communication, good listening skills.
It definitely helps you. It gives you a better understanding. The people who train you are professionals, nurses and so forth, and counselors. And you do learn a whole lot.
I basically just listen, and they do most of the talking, and I find that most of what they need is just somebody to listen to them.
I think one of the hardest things is making the people you talk to about their problem realize that you're really concerned. And when I tell them, feel free to call me.
I feel, like John said, I owe something, and I want to help someone else as much as he's helped me.
And if you want to talk about those feelings, call me up, call me over. If you're mad, that's all right, I understand. If you're scared, that's all right, I've been there too. I think that's the thing that Friend for Life has an entree that doctors and social workers don't have.
If I can do it, anybody can do it.
Contact could be a one-time phone call, and that's all that that person really needs at that time. Others really develop into friendships, and they just go on in a supportive fashion.
There seems to be a camaraderie among cancer patients that they relate to each other.
Don't know that I had an answer. I was able to listen.
He listened. He was there to listen.
So I think it's a dual-fold kind of a situation. We're helping a recently diagnosed patient, and we're also, the volunteers are helping themselves to get back into this world.
Having someone there just to listen to you just provides a whole lot of hope.
I think it builds you. I really do. I think it's like any other tough task. It's like basic training in the service. Everyone is glad they went through it. Nobody volunteers to go through it a second time. And I think that's true with cancer.
Of this whole experience, it has made me a better person. It has made me a stronger person.
The volunteers we have are cancer survivors who have been willing to go through training, who have made themselves available for any time of the day, 365 days a year, for one time or 50 times. And I think that kind of commitment is very unusual. There isn't going to be any rewards, any names on the plaques, any feedback. They're simply quietly going to go see somebody. Nobody's going to know about it. Nobody's going to know the results except them. And I think that kind of person is really special today.
I'm sure that John Gray had these very same thoughts. And I stopped to think, if he had said, no, I don't want to get involved, then where would I be?
It's just a very cost-efficient way to very quietly help some people who are in a great deal of pain, and it cuts across all lines of race, creed, and color.
And really, I think the future in cancer treatment is going to be very exciting, and I think it's going to be much more sophisticated and less crude than what we've done to this point. And I'm very optimistic that we may have a lot more volunteers in Friends for Life because of that.
I can only put it like I've walked through that fire. I've walked through the fire, and I'm over here on this side, and I made it. I can say, right here sitting down, I can say, I've survived this. You know, I don't know how much longer I have, but I survived this.